Hello and welcome back to our channel where we look at issues which impact you and require the urgent attention of the Nigerian authorities. The matter arising today is a very scary one. Very, very scary. The Japanese utility giant TEPCO is planning to dump more than 1 million cubic meters of treated radioactive water, enough water to fill 500 Olympic-sized swimming pools from the wrecked Fukushima nuclear plant into the Pacific Ocean. This is part of its nearly $200 billion effort to clean up the worst atomic energy since Chernobyl. Take a listen. Let's put the story in context. Do you remember the 2011 earthquake and tsunami? It was the biggest earthquake in Japan's recorded history, the fourth biggest quake in the recorded history of the Earth, resulting in the 11th March 2011 nuclear accident at the Fukushima power plant in Okuma, Japan. The disaster resulted in economic losses of $360 billion, making it the costliest natural disaster in history. Take a look. Nuclear events are classified from level 1 to 7 on the International Nuclear Event Scale, depending on the severity of the event. The Fukushima nuclear disaster was classified as a major accident at level 7. The 1986 Chernobyl disaster was the only other accident to have received such classification. Now, what happened at Chernobyl? On Saturday, 26 April 1986, in the then Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic, reactor design flaws and serious breach of protocol during simulated power outage safety tests result in a nuclear accident in the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. It was considered the worst nuclear disaster in history at that time, with 335,000 people evacuated and a cleanup bill of $68 billion. The next video is one of the footages of the disaster and the subsequent evacuation efforts. Now back to the Fukushima story. The nuclear accident killed about 16,000 people, and in the following days, radiation released into the atmosphere forced the government to declare an evacuation zone with a 20-kilometer radius. 154 residents were evacuated from the communities surrounding the plant due to the rising level of radiation. During and after that disaster, large amounts of water contaminated with radioactive isotopes continued to be released into the Pacific Ocean until a 1.5-kilometer long ice wall of frozen earth was created to stop the flow. This caused a third of the world's oceans to be contaminated. Now, apart from the high volume of contaminated water released into the ocean, there were possibilities of health effects as a result of radiation. This includes miscarriages, stillbirths, physical and mental disorders in babies born after the accident, although the World Health Organization claims that these situations did not significantly increase. Right now, there is an ongoing intensive cleanup program to both decontaminate the environment, all the affected areas, and to decommission the plant. The exercise is estimated to be completed in 30 to 40 years' time. That is between 2041 and 2051. That's a long time. Now let's go back to the reason behind the plan to dump treated radioactive water into the ocean. While the process of decommissioning is ongoing, the damaged giant nuclear plants will continue to run, and water has to be cycled through them to cool, fuel, and waste. Now, to put that in context, a nuclear reactor generates as much as 700 degrees centigrade, and I think at the highest about 950 degrees centigrade of heat. To achieve the cooling, about 100 cubic meters of water, which is the equivalent of about 850 barrels of groundwater, flows into the nuclear plants daily, and the water becomes contaminated. The tainted water is then pumped out and processed and stored in one of about 1,000 tanks at the site. These storage tanks are forecast to be full by mid-2022, and space for building more is not available, hence the need to start dumping the water in 2 years' time, and this will take decades to complete. So just for you to see, a cycle will go on here. While they're decontaminating and decommissioning the plant, the nuclear plants will continue to run, and water must be cycled through them to cool them down. This water becomes contaminated. They will be passed through the processor to process them and remove all the radioactive materials, and the water will be stored and at some point in time dumped. So this cycle will continue for the next 30 to 40 years. Now, what is the implication of the proposed action of dumping this water? That is the current focus of our discourse today. Now, there is a possibility of an unsafe level of radioactivity in seafood, making them unfit for consumption. A fish with a high level of radioactivity was discovered in faraway Canadian waters. Although TEPCO says the wastewater has been treated to remove most of the radioactivity, however, tritium, a radioactive hydrogen isotope, remains in the treated water, making environmental groups skeptical of TEPCO's claims. While some countries say Japan can go ahead with the dump, others call for caution. Local media report that in February 2021, 10 clear years after the disaster, shipments of black rockfish were halted after one sample caught near Fukushima contained cesium far in excess of acceptable levels. Fishing groups in Fukushima are strongly opposed to the water dump, fearing it could further taint the reputation of their catch and affect their livelihoods. Already more than 20 countries still have imposed import restrictions after the disaster on some Japanese food products. So this is where we are going. For us in Nigeria, there are very, very clear questions. And these are questions that we are asking to our government. Is the government aware of this development? If they are aware, what are they doing to protect Nigerians? Is contaminated seafood being packaged and exported cheaply to Nigeria by unscrupulous businessmen while government agencies look the other way? Is anyone checking offshore catches that are sold to Nigerians? Are we sitting on a keg of gunpowder in terms of a potential public health crisis? These are serious questions which demand answers, and I'm sure some more questions are forming in your minds. This is a time for our government to spring into action to prevent a potential public health crisis in Nigeria. Is Nigeria, we're looking at awareness. Are we aware? Are they aware? Have they said anything? Or is it to be assumed, the general assumption that Africa doesn't have a voice where such matters are concerned? Are we just figureheads, or just people who are not to be considered when important things in life are being discussed? Our government must wake up to their responsibility in this regard. They must dust up relevant policies which have been adorning their shelves with a view to urgently and aggressively supporting our local fish production to the level of self-sufficiency within the next few years. There is a teeming population of young people waiting to be empowered and guided to success. If we remember, right now, about 33% of our population are unemployed. We hope someone is listening. So that's the matter arising for today. Please like and share this video. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe and click on the bell to receive notifications of our new videos when they're uploaded. Thank you and see you next time.